and of course, his part was the most interesting of all.
So the man you met was an impostor?
I was very shocked because this man looks quite Graham Greene.
I had the greatest shock in my life. This was not the Graham Greene I knew. And he introduced himself as Graham Greene.
I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the Graham Greene that I knew was a thief.
Oh, I'm glad dear Mildred isn't here to hear you say that, because that would upset her terribly.
My mother used to tell me, all that shines is not gold.
I was upset that he had betrayed our trust in him. We'd taken him in, he was a stranger, and we trusted him.
Sometimes one doesn't ask the obvious question. You know, are you Graham Greene? We thought, oh, yes, he must be Graham Greene.
The obvious question one has to ask is, are you the real Graham Greene?
Of course I am. I'm flesh and blood. I must be.
Are you the real Graham Greene?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I am the real Graham Greene to myself, yeah.
Are you the Graham Greene?
Of course I am, yeah.
Are you the real Graham Greene?
Yeah.
I'm Graham Greene.
Well, I'm Graham Greene, the demolition contractor, but I'm not Graham Greene, the writer.
Some years ago in Chile, after I'd been entertained at lunch by President Allende, a right-wing paper in Santiago announced to its readers that the president had been deceived by an impostor. I found myself shaken by a metaphysical doubt. Had I been the impostor all the time? Was I the other? Was I Skinner? Was it even possible that I might be Meredith de Varg?
A 100 years after Hitler's birth, BBC One now examines how, with terrible consequences, a civilized country can surrender its will to one charismatic leader. The fatal attraction of Adolf Hitler. In Scotland, it'll be shown later at 11 o'clock.
BBC Two is 25 years old, and tonight on The Late Show, I'll be choosing some of my favourite clips from one of television's first jazz programmes, Jazz 625. So book the best seats in the house to watch Thelonious Monk, Duke Ellington, Sonny Rollins, Tubby Hayes, and many more.
And The Late Show follows Newsnight, now on 2 with Donald McCormick.
Good evening. Protesters in Beijing have tonight been mounting the most serious challenge of the week to the Chinese authorities. With just over 3 hours to go before the funeral of the widely mourned reformist Hu Yu-bang, thousands of demonstrators are staging a mass occupation of Chuanmin Square in the city centre. They say they won't leave, but hundreds of troops are standing by, and the order has gone out that the square must be cleared by midnight our time. Newsnight's Gavin Esler is in Beijing, and we'll be examining the reasons behind the present wave of protest. Also tonight, the Chief Constable of South Yorkshire suggests that the Hillsborough inquiry will exonerate the conduct of his men during the tragic event of last Saturday. The policeman who will actually be gathering evidence for the inquiry, Assistant Chief Constable Mervyn Jones of the West Midlands Force, will be assessing the task facing him. In further government reaction to Hillsborough, the Home Office attacks some press coverage of the disaster as harassing and intrusive, and warns national editors and publishers they only have a year or two to clean up their act. We hear the response of the Daily Mirror's publisher, Robert Maxwell. And we have an exclusive interview with the former Guinness chairman, Ernest Saunders, who is facing serious charges arising from the distillers' takeover battle. Mr. Saunders tells us that he may be forced to conduct his own defense because his legal aid is about to run out. Tonight, the Chinese capital, Beijing, has been the scene of the biggest demonstrations this week, as up to 200,000 people flocked into the central square in preparation for the funeral of the former Communist Party leader, Hu Yubang. He was forced to resign 2 years ago by party hardliners opposed to his reformist policies, and his death last weekend set off the present wave of anti-government protest. So far tonight, the troops standing by in the square have not used force to disperse the crowds, despite warnings earlier that further demonstrations would not be tolerated. Margaret Gilmore in London now describes the reasons behind this week of protest.